What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Franchise Empire newsletter. Rocking and rolling on another Monday. And my name is Tarek Johnson. If you're not familiar, if this is your first time watching, my name is Tarek Johnson. I am the CEO and founder of Franchise Empire, and I'm here with Mr. Mark Magerman, who is our head of brokerage and just franchise expert extraordinaire. Should that be your new nickname, Mark?
I think we can stick with Mark, but I appreciate the feedback. That's nice. And if it is the first time you're here, I have to say, where have you been? If you're interested in franchising, this is the place to be. So welcome and ask questions, please.
Yes, this is the place to be. Awesome, guys. Here are some of the things that we are going to cover today in this conversation. We're going to talk about a resale available in North Carolina. We'll talk about Taco Bell. We're doing a bit of a pivot on some of these newsletters. Let us know, by the way, in the comments. Give us some feedback if you like this. We're going to start covering some of the bigger name franchise brands and things that we find interesting and that I think you may find interesting about those brands. So yeah, definitely let me know in the comments if you like this style and you want to learn about some of the bigger brands. But we'll talk about Mitch and one of our clients becoming a new franchise owner, and then we'll share with you our latest Franchise Empire content around the Hampton Inn franchise, which is, I think they're owned by Hilton. They got bought by Hilton, which is interesting. So we'll talk about that. And let's see. Let us know if you're tuning in live. Drop us a comment. Let us know what city and state you're tuning in from. And if you're watching the replay, let us know that you're watching the replay. All right, let's dive in. So we'll talk about first our featured resale, which is from Mr. Electric. And so if you're not familiar with Mr. Electric, and let me make this a little bit smaller for the purpose of this. So Mr. Electric, man, we got to use a smaller image. It's a giant image that is not sized properly. So this brand, Mr. Electric, they are a part of Neighborly. And if you're not familiar with Neighborly, they're the largest home services franchisor in the world. They have, I believe, 19 or 20 different franchise brands, many of them that you've heard of. And Mr. Electric specifically was established in 1994, bought by Neighborly in 2007. They have about 190 units throughout the country. As you can imagine, they are an electrical company, right? So you have a team of electricians. You do not need to know. Really, you don't need to be an electrician, and you don't need to know how to repair electrical equipment. Your job is to build and grow a team of electricians and lead your team, essentially, right? So they do services, repairs, installs, all kinds of good stuff. Actually, we have one of our clients that is a franchisee of this brand, and he has been for a bit now, although he launched a few months ago. And he's he's bidding on a giant project with a bunch of EV charger installations. It's a pretty significant bid too. So which is pretty interesting. At least I thought it was interesting. The resale, let's talk about it. Started in 2021, had 2023 revenue of $685,000. Asking price, and the reason why we list 2023 and not 2024, because that was the latest information that the franchisor passed on to us. So if you want updated financials, that'll happen through filling out an NDA. So reach out to us. We'll get you connected with the franchisor and the owner, where you can fill out an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, and be able to get more specific and recent financial data. Asking price $850,000, which again is a good sign. I've talked about it before. Generally, resales are sold for valuation of what they make. The higher the price, typically the better the financials. Vehicles and tools, equipment are included in the sale. There's also 2 territories. In terms of our overall take, there's some pretty good numbers in their FDD. They actually show it in an interesting way, Mark. They show it based on the population size of the territory. So they'll say, okay, 300,000 to 500,000, 500,000 to 1 million in population, so on and so forth. But for folks 300,000 to 500,000, 1.1 million is the average sales. And corporate has a call center that will answer your incoming calls and put them on your next available appointment with your technician. So you don't have to hire call center people. And guys, I mean, if you're hiring your own local people, like, you got to pay these folks 15, 20 bucks an hour, 40 grand a year, whatever, to, be intelligent people that are, answering the phones, responding to your leads, able to have conversations to get them booked. The fact that the franchisor has this is pretty cool. Really cool, actually. Now, granted, you pay for it in terms of like your ongoing fees, but it just takes a burden off of your back from the beginning. You don't have to train these people, etc. Actually, I just had a call with some of our franchisees this morning, and Dave, the one who owns a Mr. Electric, was on, and he was saying he just got back from a regional training event that the franchisor put on and hosted and was paid for by some of their sponsors and vendors. And he got to bring his service people in his company, and they're learning best practices. So they're getting trained by the franchisor and by some of the other top franchisees at this regional event. One of the benefits of, franchise systems, which I thought was really, really cool. And then Dave said his technician or electrician got to then shadow like a top performing franchisee's technician. So where do you get to do that? Where do you get to just shadow people that are in the same exact business as you and see what the top performers are doing? So it's an interesting resale opportunity. There are some other Mr. Electric resales available. But Mark, what's your overall take on this?
Pretty much try not to repeat what you said, but totally agree. The purchase price of these businesses are usually accurate and usually a good representation of the quality of the business. Again, the sellers of this, as somebody that's sold a franchise business, it's not really a smart decision to list a business for a price that's not realistic. Smart people are going to come in, they're going to do some due diligence. So if the asking price is $850,000, is there a chance to negotiate? Of course, everything's negotiable. But you're going to end up right around there, and the business is going to be worth that. That's really important to know. And as always, we say about resales, the strength of your ability to be a successful owner of a resale is prior business experience, and if not, at least solid management experience. This is a management job, building a team. You don't need to be a solid electrician, but you need to be a really solid leader. So if this is the first time you're looking at businesses, and so many people that we get say, I only want to buy a resale because I want to replace my income from my job, this is not for you, and this is not an example of why this would be recommended.
Yeah, great points. And look, at the end of the day, y'all, some people I think want to buy resales to be able to come in and number one, you think it's easier. Resales can often be harder because you're stepping onto a moving train. There's staff in place, there's things in place. And from my experience, when I bought my resale, it was, I would say, 5 times harder, 500% harder than building my new store from scratch.
Totally agree with that. And the other thing people have to keep in mind when they just have these dollar signs as I'm going to buy this resale and it's going to be a home run, I'm going to have all this money coming in, you're also inheriting a staff of people that don't know you from a hole in the head, right? So you have no idea. And when these businesses sell, it sounds like I'm talking people out of it. I'm really not. I'm just being realistic. But the seller is, when he's selling his business, he's not letting his employees know the business is for sale. That would be a risky decision. So many times when you buy these businesses, you've got to meet these employees for the first time, which is why, to Tarek's point, these are much harder. There's way more to risk, because if 3-4 people the day you bought it left for whatever reason, your business is going to go down When you start from scratch, you got really nowhere. You can't go down. There's nothing less than zero, and there's nowhere to go but up. So just be cognizant of these with resales. They could be a fantastic opportunity, but it's a lot more narrow path to success, in my opinion.
Yeah, Mark, who do you think would be a good profile or person for this resale or just resales in general like this that are kind of priced between 500 grand to $1 million? Who do you think's the right candidate?
Somebody with solid management or general management experience. If it's been in the home service business, all the better. But if it's not, but you've got a really good handle on how to manage and treat people and can hold people accountable, that's what we're looking for. And I also think it would be fantastic if you had a partnership here where one person's more the sales leader and one person's more the ops leader. Then you're really going to hit the ground running, and you could probably insulate yourself. Because again, in many cases, when you inherit a business like this, very, very unlikely that you keep every employee, because you're going to want to bring in your own people as well. So, but if you don't have solid management experience, I think you're going to be asking for more than you can bite off here. And more than likely, the selling franchise owner will tell you that. They don't want to, again, when you buy these kinds of businesses, it's typical that the seller keeps a little skin in the game. By that, I mean holds out some type of escrow or something that has to be held aside to make sure that what the buyer's buying is represented correctly by the seller. So the seller has a best interest to match with the right candidate as well. So if you're not that right person and you're told that, it's not personal. It's just probably realistic.
It's not personal. It's just realistic. I love it. I thought you were going to say it's not personal. It's just business, but you said it's probably realistic. I'm going to use that. I kind of like that phrase.
Well, Tarek, that would be a list of several of my lines that you've started taking. I should start charging a recurring fee for those, but feel free to use that one. All yours.
Yeah, my favorite one is the tallest midget.
Well, it works every single time because once you say it, people know exactly what you mean, right?
Oh yeah, we were gonna hire, looking to figure out the right person to hire, and one time, and Mark was we were both interviewing the person, and Mark said, "Yeah, I think this person's like they're like the tallest midget," and oh man, I just lost it. I had never heard that phrase before.
If you want a definition, I use that line when we're not really enamored by our candidates, right?
Yeah, super funny. All right, guys. So if you want to learn, if you're in the North Carolina area and you want to learn more about this resale, or if you just want to learn more about if there are any resales available in your area or market, you're someone that you've led people, you've hired, you've fired. We have a list of over 100 resales with various brands spanning the U.S. and Canada. Not just home services, by the way. There are some retail ones. Some of them being a part of the Winmark family. I had a client like 3.5 years ago, early on in the franchise empire, before it was even called franchise empire. He bought a Plato's Closet, Mark, and it was a well-performing one. Got a pretty good deal on it, and within 6 months to 9 months, he came back to me going, "Yeah, I have too much free time on my too much free time on my hands. I want to buy something else too." And usually that doesn't happen. I mean, he just so happened to buy something that had a manager in place. The people had owned it for 15 years. The business isn't rocket science, but I thought it was interesting. So we have a bunch of those resales and Winmark brands available, which are actually pretty quality. So
nice.
All right, let's keep rocking and rolling. Did we cover Mitch last? Why do I feel like we covered Mitch last week, or is that just my brain acting funky?
I don't believe we discussed Mitch.
Okay.
But boy,
was Mitch yours or Chris?
This would be Chris.
Okay. All right. Well, do you want to hit it? You want me to hit it?
Go ahead. You can do it.
Okay. All right, cool. So guys, every week we like to celebrate new entrepreneurs and people that our team at Franchise Empire has helped. Our mission is to help more people become successful through entrepreneurship. Why? Because small businesses are the fabric of the U.S. economy. And every single day, people fail trying to start businesses on their own. And for a lot of us, franchising is our only realistic shot of achieving our entrepreneurial goals, or we're probably not going to try to start something on our own. Or if you're like me, you failed so many times starting on your own. Like franchising is the dummy proof way. It's like Business for Dummies. Remember that series, Mark? The For Dummies series.
I think I have a couple books in my bookcase on something for dummies.
Yeah, those are so popular. But Mitch, by the way, Mitch worked with Chris on our team. So if you guys aren't familiar, so Mark leads our brokerage team. We've got a team of franchise brokers who have all had a lot of experience either being franchisees or being a franchisor. And so Mitch had been exploring a bunch of different franchise options, really trying to find the right opportunity, and just tired of Googling around, trying to search what are good franchises. And so he started working with Chris, but he wanted something where he could also get involved in his local community as well. And so what Chris did and what our team does is when Mitch has his first meeting with Chris goes, okay, tell me about you. Tell me about what are your skill sets? What's your background? What are your goals? What do you want your lifestyle to look like? What are your financial goals? So that we can really craft a criteria together, which is what Chris did. And then Chris presented him 5 to 8 specific franchise brands that align with his criteria. Mitch then chose 2 to 3 that he wanted to connect with, and wind up deciding on Cabinet IQ in the Athens, Georgia area. So congratulations, Mitch. We're super excited for you and looking forward to hearing how your progress goes as a franchisee.
So. Again, I'm not political in any way here, but the new laws that got passed in the country, making it more beneficial for business owners and franchise owners on the tax breaks that are coming down the road. So if you ever were looking at getting into a franchise, there's more reasons from the last 2 weeks when the beautiful bill passed. Again, it doesn't matter what side of the political ladder you're on, because this is law. So these are the rules now. So you might as well take advantage of very generous tax breaks for franchisees starting businesses. And, I'm sure your accountant can fill you in more, but legitimate opportunities that didn't exist 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, there's a phrase that the tax code was designed for entrepreneurs. Yeah. Okay, franchise of the week. I'm excited. What we're going to start doing is we're going to start picking some of the top franchises from the top franchises, basically the largest franchises. And we're going to start covering them in this newsletter to make it spice it up, make it a little bit more interesting. And so I don't know why I have this business grants call to action up. I did not mean to do that. Let's talk about Taco Bell. I'm sure many of you have not heard of Taco Bell or don't know who Taco Bell is. That is my dry sarcasm if you didn't pick up on it. But let's take a look. Before tacos made him a multimillionaire, Glenn Bell was running a small hamburger stand in San Bernardino, California. Just across the street was Meat La Cafe, a family-owned Mexican restaurant drawing long lines for its crunchy, hard-shelled tacos. But Mr. Glenn Bell didn't just watch, he learned. Over time, he built a relationship with the owners and adapted their process into a system that he could scale. And in 1994, he opened Taco Tia to refine that model. Then 8 years later, in 1962, the first Taco Bell launched in Downey, California. Okay, Mark, so just 2 things already that stand out to me. Number one is he modeled someone else's success. Mm-hmm. Even to start his concept, he modeled someone else's success. And so many times people are trying to figure it all out on their own. Not only did he then model someone else's success, but it took him 8 years to dial it in and come up with the name Taco Bell. Isn't that crazy?
It is. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't know until we read this newsletter that Taco Bell stood for Glenn Bell. I did not know that. So good for him. I don't know if anyone know. I don't know if a lot of people know that. But yeah, when it takes 8 years to perfect the model, that's just, there's so many positives from that, right? Because it says they didn't do this because they were trying to get rich quick by selling franchises. He really had the passion for perfecting the model. And then I'm sure what happened was people came up and said, how can I get one of these? How can I get one of these? Next thing you know, he's like, here's how you can get them. So again, any one of these huge brands that we talk about all started with one really ingenious, smart, talented individual that got it going. My guess would be that Mitla Cafe was not, if it wasn't for Glenn, I don't think Mitla Cafe would have turned their business into Taco Bell.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm curious if they're even still around. That would be crazy if
it would be.
If they are. What was the place? Oh, we went when we stopped in Savannah on the way up here to Myrtle Beach. We were looking up I was looking up reviews for some restaurants, and there was this not really a hole in the wall. It was actually a pretty large location, but it was a seafood spot that had been open 35 years. 35 years. And they just had so many great reviews. It's pretty crazy to see when places have been around that long and probably could franchise. I think this sort of story to me is fascinating because I'm sure we have people that watch like, okay, I'm not going to buy a franchise, but what if I became a franchisor, or maybe use their franchising experience to then go and build something else that's even bigger. I don't know. I think these stories are inspiring to me. And, just 4.5 years into building franchise empire, like to have been 8 years later and finally locked in on the name that you're known for is pretty fascinating. But just let's continue with the story. So franchising followed 2 years later with the first franchisee opening in Torrance, California. And by 1970, Taco Bell had 325 locations across the country. And then in 1978, PepsiCo acquired the brand for $125 million. Did you know that Pepsi had bought them in the 70s?
I did.
You did?
Only because I'm old. So I did. And that 125 million, if it was bought today, would probably be 12.5 billion, something like that. Mr. Bell did really well selling his business for 125 million, and just as well, PepsiCo did great for buying it for 125 million.
Oh yeah. Now they're a part of what? Taco Bell is now part of Yum Brands, right? Do we have that in here?
Now they're part of Yum, is my understanding. Yes, I don't know why they didn't include that in this update, but yes.
Yeah. Okay. And Yum owns who else does Yum own? I know KFC is one of them.
Pizza Hut, I believe. KFC, I believe. I'd have to double check, Tarek. I don't know. I didn't have enough time to research it. I'm sorry.
No. It's all good. We're just shooting the breeze here. Yeah. No, we're just shooting the breeze. Okay, cool. So fast forward to 2012, and Taco Bell introduced one of the most successful fast food launches ever, the Doritos Locos Taco. Hey, I'll tell you what, guys, let's get a little poll going in the comments, whether you watch the replay or live. I'm curious, what is your favorite flavor of Doritos? Mark, do you eat Doritos at all?
Not very often, but just it's funny. This past weekend, my family was at the beach, and there was a bunch of little kids there, so there was a bunch of snacks. I got a little hungry, and I did dip my hand into the Cool Ranch. So I'm a Cool Ranch guy.
Me too. Cool Ranch is my favorite. Yeah. Although back when I don't know that I really haven't seen them because I haven't looked for it, but there was a point where the spicy Doritos were my jam. I love spicy food.
Yeah. Again, I only had one or two because I noticed my 3-year-old granddaughter was picking out the chips, licking the salt off the chips and putting them back in the bag. So I moved on from snacks at that point. But I did have a couple. Yeah, she turned off the crowd pretty quickly on the Doritos.
Welcome to every day in my life. We were
Absolutely.
sitting on the beach yesterday. Sophia's licking this lollipop. She's halfway done with it. She's like, "Daddy, here, have a lick." I'm like, "No, I'm good. Thank you."
I'm good. Again, the difference between you and I is, as a grandfather, I can hit and move. When I get pissed off that she's licking the salt off the chips, I can get up and go do something else. As the father, you got to deal with that. I don't have to do any disciplining or educating as a grandfather. So, funny story.
Yeah.
Funny Dorito story.
All right, so back to Doritos Locos. Over 100 million sold in just 10 weeks, more than $1 billion in revenue. And here's the crazy part. The idea came from interns back in 1995 and sat untouched for 17 years.
That's amazing.
That is wild. And so how does that apply to you who's watching? Maybe you have an idea that you've been sitting on, or something you've been thinking about doing, or starting a business that has been years in the making of you just kind of sitting on your hands, and it could I mean may not bring you $1 billion, but I think that you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, and failure is not trying or trying and then actually failing and not hitting it. What failure looks like is not shooting the shot, not actually attempting at all. That's a pretty crazy story. 17 years.
Yeah, and it's also tough. Again, the best franchisors in the world usually start by being operators. And again, not everybody's meant to be a franchisor, because that's the other thing that these franchisors, I'm sure if Mr. Bell was around today and we asked him, he'd say the same thing. Once he started being a franchisor, he didn't spend much time making tacos anymore. His whole lifetime changed to support the network. So it's a different job. It's a whole different way of doing things, but it's really meant for not the faint of heart and people who are innovative and really have a lot of confidence in themselves and the product or service that they have.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, let's speed through some of these numbers. We'll just hit on a couple. Franchise units over 7,000. Franchise fee varies depending upon if you're doing a traditional unit where you're doing a ground lease, or if you're doing like inlines. I think it's self-explanatory, inline in a shopping center. Their marketing fee is 4.25% of gross sales, which is exceptionally high because you're getting a tremendous amount of bang for your buck there. They're plastered all over the TV and everywhere that you can look. Billboards. Royalty fee is only 5.5%, but it's on gross sales, not net sales. Mark, was yours on gross or net? Like, did they charge it? You know what I'm talking about?
It was on gross. And even with the high marketing fee, it's still under 10%. So it's still very, very realistic in terms of the fees you're paying. We were right around 10% in our Five Guys business. A lot of the service providers or the service businesses that we use now coming around 10%. So this isn't high, and I think it's very generous, to be honest with you, that they have a 5.5% royalty. And maybe that's to keep it under 10, but it's not outlandish at all when you add them both together.
Yeah, 100%. Mark, what if you were to explain the difference between gross and net sales? How would you explain it for people?
So the way most of these brands work is you link your bank account up to their point of sale system, so they take the money automatically. Technology is a wonderful thing. So in our world, on Thursday morning, we had a withdrawal out of our bank account, and it was for 6% of our gross sales for that week, meaning total sales. So if somebody comes into Five Guys and the bill is $29.95, we collect that. That's our gross sales. Obviously, as an operator, we use that $29.95, and we have to pay labor, we have to pay cost of goods, we have to pay rent, we have to pay everything else. Hopefully we get more than $2.95 left over. That's gross. That would be net. But franchisors aren't concerned with our net. In other words, the franchisors are saying, you got to run your business successfully. That's not on us. We're going to take the money off the top, and that's the difference. So I don't know any brands that go off of net, because net is, franchisors don't even really know what your net sales are unless they have access to your complete P&L.
Here's a question for you. Do you know, because our franchisor in the FGD, they called it net sales, but not like net income. They defined, and I think this is where it's tricky because every franchisor will define net sales differently.
Yeah.
They define net sales as subtracting the sales tax and then discounts. So if in like your let's say let's say the total should have been $20, but we were doing a buy one get one deal, and so then with the discount it came up as $10. Well, if you're paying on gross sales, you might have to pay royalties even on the discounted amount that you didn't even receive.
Yeah,
but for us, we paid after the discount. So do you know if you guys had to pay royalties on those sort of things?
Yeah. So again, when I was saying gross sales, if we collected, if the meal was $20, but there was a 50% off, then our gross sales would have been 10. We're not paying for the discount because the discount would probably be company wide. Now, if we chose on our own to go rogue and discount XYZ pricing, that's on us. But if it was approved if it was a national brand or a national marketing program, that would come out of the gross sales. So in that case, that's fine. Now, what we did have to pay is if we made a mistake, if somebody spent $20 and we made it wrong, and we had to make it again for $20 and give it away, we couldn't say we screwed up. You have to lower that number. So, but yeah, discounts definitely come off gross sales.
Yeah.
And in some cases, some of the brands that we're working with here at Franchise Empire, I've come to find, will consider gross sales in some cases, backing out like cost of goods. So if you do $1 million, but the cost of all the painting materials was 20%, they'll call it 80. Everyone's different. I don't. If I was a franchisor, I would use gross sales as the way you and I defined it. But there's a lot of different things, and that's kind of why when you're doing due diligence, it's a really important question not to skip over and make sure you understand exactly how it's being calculated.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's run through some of the other numbers. So initial investment, $1.8 to $4.3 million if you're building the building up from scratch from a ground lease. That's probably factoring in if you bought the real estate too, I'd imagine, in the higher end of the scenario, but maybe not. Inline and end cap, right? If you don't have your own building that you're building from the ground up, $934,000 and $1.8 million. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? And here's one of the reasons why we got this question. Why are you talking about Taco Bell? You said the food businesses are the worst industry of all time. Well, ironically enough, Mark and I both owned franchises in the food business. Number one. Number two, I never said that they're the worst businesses of all time. You're putting words in my mouth, and that's not accurate. I said that the food business has low profit margins and they're very expensive to start up, which are both factually correct pieces of information.
And very important to me to interrupt you, but not necessarily what I would consider a lifestyle business. You don't own your life when you have the restaurant business. They own you. You're open 365 days a year. Maybe you're off Thanksgiving and Christmas. You're open from 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning when your staff gets there till 1 o'clock in the morning. You are involved as the owner in everything. It's not necessarily the recommended choice of brands that our candidates are searching for, because keeping in mind, what we do is we ask people many, many questions. What are they trying to find? If someone called us up and said, I've been in the food business since I was in diapers, I know everything about the food business, all I want is food, guess what? We'd place them with food.
Yep. Yeah, a great point. And at the end of the day, one of the things that I mentioned is that, you know, we're pivoting in some of what we talk about in the newsletter. We can only keep talking about we don't have hundreds and hundreds of brands in our inventory because we're very selective about who we work with. We find good ones, we work with them. So instead of just repeating over and over again the same brands, which we've been starting to do because we've been doing this almost 2 years now, this newsletter, I thought, you know what, it'll be more entertaining and informational to talk about some of these popular brands. And if you're looking to buy into something like a Taco Bell, it's not going to be through us. We don't work with Taco Bell, but I think it's interesting. I like talking about and learning about this stuff. So I figure there's an audience that would as well. And as you see, there's a $5 million net worth requirement. So, for a lot of people, it's just completely unrealistic and not affordable. And so in those instances, right, we do, as an example, I put together a list of 5 low-cost franchises that are proven to make $1 million. It's listed in their franchise disclosure documents. If you guys want that list of 5 franchises, then I'll drop the link there. It's franchiseempire.com/low cost. It's my gift to you, completely free. You pay us nothing for it. If when you look at them, if you say, hey, I want to find out if some of those brands are available in my area, then you can schedule a call with us and we can check for territory availability for free. But outside of that, keep it, use it, read it, and you'll get exposed to some of the lower cost brands that are not $5 million that some of our clients look at.
And also keep in mind that even if you're doing an inline, you weren't buying the real estate, that $1.8 million range, that's to just build one. That's not to operate it and run it. That's just the cost to get your first one built.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not including your overall operating costs, your annual operating costs.
So once you're 1.8 million in, then you got to hire your people. It may not even include the equipment. So keep all that in mind. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Very expensive. You've got to have a lot of cash, a lot of access to capital, and typically these end up being invested in by partnership groups, as we did.
That own 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, that's to me why would you get into this type of business? That's what your goal is. It's a very low margin business. So again, if you're making 4 to 5% margin, but you've got $100 million worth of sales because you've got 25 locations, then you got a business. If your goal is to own one Taco Bell, boy, I think there's other ways you could.
You're screwed.
Go about it.
Yeah. So Mark owned 13 Five Guys locations, right? So that gives you a sense. It takes a tremendous amount of capital. And by the way, we're not going to hit every single detail in this newsletter. I'm dropping the link for you guys. If you want to just go see the print version of this, right? You just click on this. This is the link, and it'll take you through everything that we've covered here so far. But if you're smart, what you would do is you click this button, subscribe here, and enter your email so that you can just get this in your inbox every Friday. I'm sorry, every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. when we send this out. Okay, so we're not going to cover ideal franchise candidate. If you want to look at some of the financial data, they don't actually show average sales of their brands. They use these formulas and forecasting tools to forecast based on all hundreds of data points what they think the stores will produce, which is crazy. And they hire these companies to do these forecasting models. Again, you can click the link below and actually look at the article and read all of it if you want to take a look at that.
Yeah,
but
I would say, what we did, Tarek, Five Guys was similar, but you can overcome that by calling and speaking directly to other franchise owners. I had 3 partners. Each of us took a list of 15 of them. We talked to 40 different franchise owners. We thought by the time that was done, we knew exactly what we should expect on a unit volume. Again, it's a roll up your sleeves and a lot of hard work to get this information. But if that's the passion that you have, you can do it. Just don't take any shortcuts. No such thing.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Let's I think we'll bring that to a close.
Sure.
The benefits to the franchisee are pretty obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys. So by the way, if I already shared, if you have not gotten the 5 low-cost franchises that are proven to make $1 million based on the data in their franchise disclosure document, go grab that. And then if you just said, hey, I'm busy, I just want to cut to the chase, you tell me, Mark and Mr. Tarek, you tell me what are the good franchises that are available in my specific zip code based on my experience and my financial resources and my background. I want you guys to do all the hard work for me because I don't want to have to keep doing all the research. Then you're in luck. You can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory and we'll do all of the hard work for you. Guess what? On our dime. Last but not least, so as you can tell, we're starting to put out or change up some of the content we're putting out. You got to constantly innovate, guys. Constantly innovate. That's like one of the lessons. We've constantly innovated here at Franchise Empire over the years and shifted the way that we've done things. But one of our most recent piece of content is on Hampton Inn franchise and going over the cost, the revenues, and fees. And Hampton is they're owned by Hilton, and yeah, it's pretty cool. We break down the whole business. I think it's really interesting. I found it fascinating to record and learn about. So you can click there to watch it on the Franchise Empire YouTube channel. You can also listen to the audio only version on any podcast platform. So with that said, that's a wrap. Mark, anything that I missed or in closing?
No, I think I just, back to the comment the gentleman or the woman had about, why are we presenting these? For everybody that would have asked him that, why would we present it if we've talked about it realistically? We're also getting people saying, we'd like to learn more about food. This newsletter is about educating people on franchises. Not everyone we talk about is going to be pertinent to your individual situation, but I think it's going to give everybody a more well-rounded take on the franchise industry in general. And certainly I had a lot more fun talking about Taco Bell than we have on some of the other ones we've talked about. So, but I would also say, to Tarek's point, join and then give us feedback as to what you'd like to see here on these newsletters, because we're only as valuable as the information we give you.
Yeah, 100%. Do we sell courses like most YouTubers? I used to. We have made the change recently to open up the gates to our online courses. So here's one as an example, our Franchise Buyers Academy. You can go grab that for free. It took months to put together and years of knowledge that I have on franchising, specific data points on profit margins, pulling up actual franchises. It's quite fascinating, actually. Great for someone who's like, I want a crash course on franchising. Franchise Buyers Academy is your jam. And again, it's completely free. So you're welcome in advance. Thank you for supporting us and watching. We appreciate it. So it's really a gift to you guys. You guys are the reason why we're able to do this. So, all right, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Mark, thanks as always, and
Thanks,
see you next Monday.
All right, thanks, guys.
Bye.